Demonstrators clashed with police during a nationwide protest in Israel, prompting more than 24 arrests. Demonstrators called for an immediate ceasefire agreement with Hamas after the recovery of 6 hostages in Gaza. Massive crowds demonstrated in Jerusalem, Tel Aviv and other cities, demanding that Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu should do more to bring home the remaining 101 hostages. Thousands of demonstrators gathered at New York City's Central Park's Upper West Side to pay tribute to 6 Israeli hostages killed in Gaza and to call for the return of others still held captive. The event featured speeches from relatives of the hostages. Father of slain Israeli-American Hersh Goldberg-Polin called on U.S. President Joe Biden and Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to secure a ceasefire deal with Hamas and release the remaining hostages. Holding banners, the crowd sang Israel's national anthem and chanted for the safe return of the captives. U.S. President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will meet the U.S. hostage deal negotiators to discuss efforts for a deal to secure the release of the remaining hostages from Gaza. The meeting in the Situation Room comes against the backdrop of Hamas's murder of American-Israeli hostage Hersh Goldberg-Polin, whose body was recovered by the IDF over the weekend, along with those of 5 other captives. According to reports, the U.S. has been talking to Egypt and Qatar about a final deal that it plans to put forth in the coming few weeks. At least 11 people, including a woman and a child, were killed as an airstrike hit a school sheltering displaced Palestinians in Gaza City. Taking responsibility for the attack, Israel said that there was a Hamas command center in the Safad school. A Hezbollah militant was killed in an Israeli strike on South Lebanon. 11 others were wounded in the incident. The chief of the Lebanese forces accused Hezbollah of dragging the country into a war without consulting the people. Samir Ghia, who was also the head of the main Christian bloc in parliament, accused the Iran-backed group of confiscating the Lebanese people's decision of war and peace. At least 47 people have been injured after Russian missiles struck a shopping mall and events complex in Ukraine's northeastern city of Kharkiv. Video from the State Emergency Service of Ukraine showed debris littering the area and damaged vehicles, with some of them on fire. Rescue crew were also seen conducting rescue and relief operations. Russian President Vladimir Putin has accused the West of openly persecuting Russian journalists. On the eve of his visit to Mongolia, he told a Mongolian newspaper that Russian journalists face direct censorship in almost all Western countries. His remarks come days after Moscow said it was banning entry to Russia for 92 Americans, including journalists, lawyers, and the heads of key military industrial firms. Russia's stance comes after U.S. imposed sanctions against some state-run Russian TV stations for spreading disinformation to strengthen Russia's war in Ukraine. A famous beluga whale suspected of being trained as a spy for Russia has been found dead off Norwegian coast. The body of the whale, which was nicknamed Vladimir, was found floating near the town of Risvaka. It was first discovered in Norwegian waters 5 years ago with a GoPro camera attached to a harness that read equipment of St. Petersburg, raising suspicions that it could be a spy whale. While no visible injuries were reported on the whale, the cause of death is yet to be determined. A recent probe into the helicopter crash that claimed the lives of Iranian President Ebrahim Raisi and Foreign Minister Hossein Amir-Abdollahian has concluded that adverse weather conditions were the primary cause of the accident. The final report of the Supreme Board of the General Staff of the Armed Forces said that the main cause of the helicopter crash was the complex climatic conditions of the region in spring. The report has ruled out any technical failures or sabotage as contributing factors. In Germany, far-right AfD party set to emerge as the biggest winner in regional elections. Exit polls by public broadcaster ARD has revealed that the AfD is predicted to win more than 30% of votes in Thuringia. And it is expected to finish second behind the Conservatives in the state of Saxony with about 30% votes. This is the first far-right party to win state elections since the Second World War. Mexico's president delivered his last report on Sunday in Mexico City's Zocalo Square, claiming that he was going to retire with a clear conscience. Supporters waving the Mexican flag and pictures of President Andrés Manuel López Obrador attended in large numbers. Obrador will leave office on September 30th to retire completely from politics. More than 10,000 hotel workers across the United States have gone on a strike to demand better pay and conditions. Workers on Sunday walked off the job in 8 cities, including Boston, San Francisco, San Diego, and Seattle, after the Unite Here union and the Hilton and Marriott hotel chains failed to reach a deal in contract negotiations with the workers. A severe storm has hit Australia's southeast with destructive winds of more than 68 miles per hour hitting the region. The storm has left tens of thousands of people without power and has resulted in shutting down of schools. Emergency services said that a 63-year-old lady has been killed after a tree fell on her cabin at a holiday park on the state border between Victoria and New South Wales. The Victoria state government has issued an advisory telling people to avoid coastal areas because of the dangerous waves, unstable land in cliff areas and flooding in low-lying areas. Rain fury in India has brought 2 South Indian states, Andhra Pradesh and Telangana, to a standstill. 26 National Disaster Response Force teams are being deployed for flood relief and rescue operations. At least 8 people lost their lives in Andhra Pradesh and 1 in Telangana as heavy rains lashed the states for the second day in a row. The situation in Andhra Pradesh continues to be grim as incessant rains left several districts underwater. Over 13,000 people were evacuated from the 5 worst-hit districts of the state. Meanwhile, in neighbouring state of Telangana, the rains crippled normal life in Hyderabad and other parts of the state, causing severe waterlogging. Schools and colleges have been given a holiday across the district. But floodwaters have also disrupted the transport system. Asian factories, including China's manufacturing sector, showed signs of a tentative recovery in August, and chip makers benefited from firm demand, according to private surveys. But economic headwinds loom. Experts say prospects of slowing U.S. growth, which is likely to lead to rate cuts by the Federal Reserve this month, and also the uncertainty over the outcome of the U.S. presidential polls, that could cloud the economic outlook. Factory activity in South Korea and Taiwan also expanded in August, while Japan saw a slower rate of contraction. A Reuters report suggests that China will urge a summit of 50 African nations in Beijing this week to take more of its goods. That's before Western curbs kick in on its exports, such as electric vehicles and solar panels. The country is expected to exchange those goods for more pledges of loans and investment. But the dozens of African leaders arriving in the Chinese capital for the three-yearly event may not be an easy bait. They will want to hear how China plans to meet an unfulfilled pledge from the previous summit in 2021. Indonesia's annual inflation rate came in at 2.12% in August, essentially unchanged from 2.13% in July. Data shows that inflation is holding comfortably within the central bank's target range now. Inflation in Southeast Asia's biggest economy has held within the central bank's target range since the middle of last year. But the Bank of Indonesia has kept interest rates high to focus on anchoring the rupiah currency and weathering global market fluctuation. The dollar climbed to a two-week top against the euro today as traders paired bets for aggressive policy easing by the Federal Reserve, with the focus now moving to a crucial U.S. jobs report at the end of this week. The dollar advanced to its strongest since August 21st on the yen, buoyed by a rise in long-term treasury yields. Closely watched economic data have held steady, reducing the imperative for the Fed to cut rates by a supersized 50 basis points on September 18th. South Korean police have initiated an investigation into the messaging app Telegram concerning its potential involvement in online deepfake sex crimes. The probe will assess whether Telegram has played a role in facilitating the spread of sexually explicit deepfake material. In response, South Korean officials have urged Telegram and other social media companies to collaborate in combating deepfake content of this nature. Well, this action comes after various reports revealed that sexually explicit deepfake images and videos of South Korean women were frequently discovered in Telegram chat groups. A Brazilian court's decision to ban X, formerly known as Twitter, has driven more users to its competitors, with Blue Sky emerging as the biggest winner. The microblogging platform reported a surge in activity, with 500,000 new users joining in the past week. Blue Sky also topped Brazil's free iPhone app chart on Sunday, just ahead of Meta's Threads. Originally announced in 2019 as a Twitter-backed project to create a decentralized social protocol, Blue Sky is now an independent public benefit corporation. The U.S. Trade Representative has opposed Canada's plan to implement a digital services tax, which could cost major tech companies like Apple and Google billions of dollars. Well, the U.S. believes that tax unfairly targets American tech firms and is pushing for its delay. Canada's proposed digital services tax seeks to tax profits earned by global tech companies from services like online marketplaces, social media, and user data sales. Under this law, this tax would apply to tech firms generating more than $750 million in annual revenue, with at least $20 million coming from the users in Canada. A recent study has highlighted the positive impact of digital consultations on improving heart failure treatment outcomes. Well, heart failure, a condition affecting over 60 million people globally, has been the focus of research by 5 Dutch hospitals. The study found that digital consultations improved care without compromising patient satisfaction. Researchers divided 150 patients into 2 groups, one receiving digital consultations and the other following the traditional care methods. After 12 weeks, they evaluated how many patients achieved the ideal drug combination. Results showed that only 7% of patients in the traditional care group reached the optimal drug combination, compared to 28% in the other group.